Did you know I got this hat in Australia? This is one of the things I do is I travel around and I have fun drifting and I meet really cool people. I met Brandon many years ago. I don't know when, but I remember you at a street driven tour event.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you at FD. When was the first time we met? Do you remember?
It might have been that street driven.
Okay.
But might have been Texas FD, one of those two.
But you've been driving for more than 10 years probably.
About, yeah.
10 years. And most people, they go through Pro-Am or whatever, and I talk about Pro-Am a lot, but like obviously that's not all of drifting. But he had lots of fun, you know, he went up the path of a normal Pro-Am driver, he went to Formula D. What kind of makes him unique is he's still around. He keeps driving the same type of car. He has a lot of fun with drifting, and you're probably not quitting anytime soon, are you?
No, no.
I see you have a kid, your kid enjoys drifting, doesn't he?
Yep, got another one on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You're still like one of the quintessential grassroots guys, like towing around a bunch of cars on a big wedge, doing whatever it takes to make it, like sleeping on people's floors, eating whatever you have to. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I mean, you bring that up, and part of what I enjoy about drifting is helping the younger guys, the newer guys that don't have the means to come out of state. Like, hey, I got a trailer, you ready to go? You're a good driver. Let's go to another state and do some drifting, you know, so you can get more experience. Yeah. So to grab those guys by the hand and bring them along, it adds to the fun for me, you know. So.
Is this the same drivetrain out of your FD car? Or are you still in a dog box and everything?
Okay, so when I put this car together, I put a dog box in it. I wanted it to be, I wanted a street car, and it quickly got out of control when I was building it. And then I drove with the dog box and I said, you know what, I want a street transmission. So I did a CD09, which I actually like a lot better for this type of driving. You know, it's really fun. It shifts really good, and they're good transmissions, and so it hasn't failed me. And but no, the engine, this is a 1.5J. It's about 500 horsepower. Not a whole lot different. It's stock bottom end and stuff, but it can handle the power, and it's got a built head and stuff, so it's pretty good. But street car turned into.
It got overkill real fast.
Exactly. But it's still fun, you know. Yeah. Definitely. But as far I tried to keep the interior and stuff different than even in my Formula D cars. You know, I had power windows in my Formula D car.
Oh, really?
I wired that up because I like that street style, you know, and it's comfortable and all that stuff. So.
Are you driving without a shift knob?
It fell off at this event. It went to the back seat. I go to shift third up there, or fourth up the hill.
I've done that before. It is so painful to drive a car with no shift knob. You're like, where do I grab it? You try low, it doesn't work. You're like, fine, I'll do it up here. You've got all the cuts.
Yeah,
like,
mine's like 5 inches long, so I'm used to grabbing it high, you know. And just kept missing it. But.
So what's the best thing about this car? And why did you rebuild the same car, if you know what I mean?
Right.
You just love JZs. Like, why didn't you build something else?
So I wanted a street car, right? And I couldn't do that with my Formula D car. I had rear radiators, all this stuff in a tube front. And I was like, I'm gonna take a chassis, and I've got tons of chassis at my shop. I said, I'm just gonna pick one out and build it from the ground up. And I like building cars too. That's part of what I enjoy about drifting is the build. So I picked a car out. We built it in like 2 months from the ground up. Just grabbed some JZ parts off the shelf and put it together. And it, like I said, it got out of control. I wanted a street car I could drive, and it's not street legal yet. I mean, it is kind of, but there's no turn signals and stuff. But that was the idea: is I wanted something to drive on the street and maybe go in the mountains and play around and not have to tow it everywhere. But it still is. I like the street style, low, not necessarily competitive suspension. Chelsea was giving me a hard time because I still have a rear sway bar. Yeah. And I couldn't keep up with you guys because of that reason, you know. But
wait, you had way more horsepower and you couldn't keep up with us?
Exactly. Exactly. Maybe my suspension's not.
No, I just saw you flying, like not flying, but like your car
off
was
track several times.
No, your car was washing out because you didn't have a lot of side bite in it.
Right, that's true. Yeah. And I like driving that way, but when I'm chasing someone and trying to keep up and pedaling it, it's frustrating, you know. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of stiff. I didn't go as soft on the suspension because I like that, you know, stylish driving more than competitive driving and really gooey suspension. Yeah. So this is set up the way I like it, and it's still comfortable inside and all that stuff. But.
Cool. Why do you keep driving?
Why do I keep driving? I got into drifting because I love drifting, right? I didn't get in it because I was chasing the dream. I didn't get in it because I wanted to go to Formula D. I didn't get it for those. In fact, I didn't know what Formula D was when I started driving. Yeah. In 2007. So Formula D had already been in it for a couple years in 2007. I didn't know what it was, and I go to some Pro-Am that they had in Utah. They went to the Miller Motorsports Park that was freshly opened, and they said, GT Live, you know, we're doing this thing. It's a Pro-Am qualifier. I don't know what that is. You know, I showed up in my car, and I qualified 9th, and they said, all right, you're invited to Long Beach or something. I was like, what is this? You know, I don't know. You need a roll cage, you need a fire seat. And I was like, I didn't have any money at that time. I was just a kid, and I was like, maybe I can do this. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna chill on this. I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to spend that money on my car. And then the next year, I thought, you know, what did I miss out on? I saw the videos from that Long Beach thing. I think they did on the docks of Long Beach or something. I said, you know, I missed out. So I got more.
Addictive.
It is. I got more excited.
Oh wait, you got invited to the Red Bull World Challenge.
Yes.
Oh, I drove that. That was really fun. Yeah.
Thanks.
It was fantastic.
Rubbing it in like I should have gone.
Well, the worst part about it is I didn't do it over again.
Yeah, it was just a one time, right?
But we got lots of seat time. We got to drive a lot. It was scary.
Who else was there? A lot of guys.
Matt Powers was there.
Cool.
Michael Essa, I think, was there as a Pro-Am guy.
Dang.
Jun Meng, maybe, and the Speed S15.
Wow.
So I qualified first at that event.
Really?
In my S13, and then I was following the fast cars because I was in a V8 S13, but I was just like on 255 Dunlops or something, and then like the other guys were running like 295 Advan Neovas with the sequential in the S15. So I follow them down, and then we enter, and I'm just like, oh God, you're like, what have I done? I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that, but like you're so excited, you're like, because they enter, and then you can catch up for the like, 1 second later you drive in to like catch them, and then you don't realize that you can't pull out of it because you don't have the grip, and then you pack it into the wall. So that was one of the first times I chased somebody way faster, and I packed it into the wall.
That happened to me when Juan Gittin in Miami. I totally went into the wall because he had grip, and I was like, oh, I'm getting on him sick, and then he pulled out, and I went straight into the wall, and my car caught on fire.
That's called a lesson.
Yes, I learned a lesson that day.
It sucks because I've learned that lesson a couple times.
But yeah, I caught the bug after that, right? And I said, what did I miss out on? So I started doing Vegas Pro-Am. And I think 2008 was my first year, and I did 4 or 5 years of Pro-Am. And I was always constantly top 5-ish, so I was really competitive, and it was fun because I got a lot of tandem experience in that time. So when I finally made the move and said, I have enough money, I'm going to make a run at Pro. They didn't have Pro 2 my first year. So I went straight into Pro. And I thought, okay, I've got the seat time and all this stuff, but I did not have the budget. I didn't know that. I didn't have the car, wasn't ready, and I just had a ton of mechanical problems and all that stuff. And so it was a learning experience coming in, and I think everyone sees when you go into Formula D, you either bang your first year or you just fall to the bottom. And I had so many problems my first year, I couldn't come out. I was like 2nd place for Rookie of the Year, and I just kind of fell in the shadows. And the next year I came back and I was doing better, but it's just, you kind of lose it. Like that first year, you got to hit it, and I didn't hit it. So it was frustrating. I kind of realized after a while I'm chasing something that's not going where I want to, so I pulled back and invested my money in having fun. And so you asked me why do I like drifting? I love drifting because I love drifting, right? I don't love drifting for any of these other reasons. I wasn't chasing up the pro dream or anything, and so I pulled back, reevaluated. I'm getting older, and I got family and stuff, and it's like, why don't I spend my money and my time doing stuff I want to? So I come to Texas to a fun event, and it's way more fun sitting in grid with these guys that I know and driving a lot more than I would at FD and spending way less money and enjoying it. So I'm glad that guys like you are hosting stuff like this to keep guys like me interested in drifting,
Thanks.
Thank you.
I try very hard because like we were just talking about, you came down and you're like, it was a competition. I was like, it was a competition, but it was 2 days long. We ran until like 10 p.m. at night, and there was maybe 2.5 hours of comp.
12 or 14 hours of driving?
Well, no, because the first day we did 12 hours just in one day. So there was probably about 18 hours to 20 hours of track time or something like that, and only 2.5 hours were comp. And the secret is by dragging you guys out for comp, for a cool prize and everything, there's just a lot of really good drivers to go out and play with and everything. So like that's how we encourage lots of, because like Chelsea wouldn't have driven 2,500 miles if there was no prize to try and jack from us. And you probably wouldn't have as well. And you brought multiple people, and
that was the appeal,
and Dustin Miles.
But you know what? Even though all of us didn't win, I think everybody had a good time. You know what I mean?
No, we did. But like
that's what's great. But that was the appeal.
You have to pick and choose how many events you can go to, because drifting is expensive, and if you have a family, getting away is hard and stuff. So I was gonna say that's kind of the magic of it. Cool. Do you want to show us around your car and stuff? Like, what's the best part of this car? Why did you build this car? Like, because it's Jay-Z and stuff?
It is.
Because of color, because of style, because of look?
So I did it the same color, obviously, because I like this color. It kind of turned into my signature, so I didn't want to build a car that nobody would recognize, So I built it very similar to Sylvia front end, which is different than my other car. I like that. It's got the Jay-Z. It's got a, Nissan transmission, which I like. And I started out with basic angle, and I've just kept getting more and more upgraded. Right now it's got the GK full angle kit. I actually started robbing parts from my pro car to put on here for a minute, and then I thought, no, I want to keep that pro car intact, so I put the Wisefab back on it and put some different parts on this. We got sponsored by...
Can we see the engine bay?
Yeah, we got Fortunato, which I really like. Good stuff.
I don't want to scratch your paint. So it's a VVTi, 1J head.
1J head, 2J bottom end. We actually just rebuilt it with 1J pistons in a 2J bottom end with 2J rods.
Can you do that?
Yes, it runs. I wasn't sure.
I thought 1J and 2J pistons were different.
They are. No, they're the same diameter.
Oh, they are?
And even the pin height is different, but they're a little bit domed. So this should be high compression. This should be kind of really high compression. I don't know. But it's fast, and I like it. It's actually fast. I had an NA2J IS300 bottom end, and it broke the pistons.
What turbo is it?
This is a GTX 3076.
Ooh, that thing, a 3-liter with a 3076?
Yes, I love it.
Holy cow, that must be responsive.
It was 1.2 bar today, and it was like perfect.
That's
really
awesome.
Good. Yeah, so I'm guessing about 500
Whew.
or so.
Tell me this story.
Oh, so this is a Mark III Supra radiator, and it fits really well. I cut the front of this car off to make some more space. We had to move the radiator forward to fit this Taurus fan. You know, JZs are notorious for cooling problems outside of Toyotas.
Right.
In Toyotas, they seem to do fine.
Yeah.
When you take it out of a Toyota, it's got problems. So I needed to resolve that problem. I put a big radiator with a big fan, and it's made all the difference. And this is a cheap Chinese radiator, but I just...
But this is like diamond plate off something.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
It was a Ricer mod. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
But we cut and
Oh, it didn't need to be that?
No.
Oh.
Not. So
I just figured it was what was lying around the shop. You were like cutting up an old trailer or something.
No, that's exactly what it was.
Was it? Was it an old trailer?
But yeah, no. It was from one of my old trailers that fell apart. But,
and you have 2 oil coolers?
2 oil coolers. I found that JZs hate high oil temps.
Yeah.
I got rod knock once, and we logged the oil temp, and it was a huge problem. So I've always gone with 2 oil coolers on these. They have so much oil pressure. Having 2 oil coolers has never been a problem. They don't lose pressure at all, and it's great. So this thing actually, it got up to like 220, 230 today, but I just let it idle for 5 minutes and it comes back down.
What's the hot side on the turbo?
86.
Okay.
I think.
So it's just a mid-size.
Yeah.
It's nothing huge.
Yeah, no. I don't like
that. Is crazy responsive.
Yeah.
Where do you get full boost? Like 3,800 or 35?
A little bit below 4,000.
Wow.
Which is great. Yeah.
And what do you have the rev limiter set at?
78.
78?
Yeah.
And what's the ECU?
ECU Master.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of our sponsors.
Really? I've been, I was a dealer for them. I've been pushing them a lot in Utah because they're great. I just love ECU Master.
They work fantastic on
JZs.
yeah,
absolutely.
Is there anything else really cool about the car?
Nope.
Okay.
Not really. You'll notice I don't have a radiator support, which I really like, because when we pull the motor out, it takes about 10 minutes. You just pull it straight out. You pull the radiator, it's really easy to take.
But you have a bash bar, right?
Have a bash bar.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And the bash bar is obviously in front of everything.
Yeah, it holds the bumper up. I made this car really easy to work on and just really serviceable and drivable.
Yeah. Interesting. So you would not put a core support back in a car after doing it this way?
No, I don't think so. Because on these, you either got to come up, with the engine to pull it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't build a car and not take an engine out, but in reality, I take this engine out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Even for maintenance and stuff, it's easier to take the engine out to do the clutch than it is to drop the trans on this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice. I did a lot of other stuff. I powder coated the subframes. I did a lot of that stuff. Just little details in this car, which I wouldn't have done on another car,
Yeah. Is this a hydraulic e-brake or a cable?
It's hydraulic.
It's hydraulic?
I like the flat e-brakes because I learned how to drive with a stock handbrake,
Yeah.
And so I like it down like that instead of the vertical ones that have been more popular lately.
An uncracked dash, that's rare.
Yeah. Yep.
You sit very far back and very, very low.
I do. I got long legs, so I like to, seating position is pretty important.
Yeah. Cool. So it looks like a very simple car for the most part. Obviously, it's kind of complicated where it has a big 2JZ and stuff.
Right.
But it doesn't have Motec. We saw Dustin Miles' car had full Motec, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So this is more of like a fun, normal drift car.
Right.
It does have anti-intrusion bars and a lot of like newer age cage stuff.
The thing about this chassis is I want it to be replaceable.
Yeah.
I don't want to be afraid to drive this car, and I'm not. I like to drive hard, and
It's got carpet. Carpet. That's a lot of carpet. Do you have a sound system in this thing?
No, I want to do that.
That's next.
The car's actually almost too loud to have a sound system.
Yeah.
It does have a fuel surge tank because I've had fuel problems in the past with the stock tank. And so I just put a surge tank. It's got a lift pump and then an external pump, and so almost no fuel problems. And an electric power steering. That's the cool thing about this car. You ask me what's cool? Electric power steering is what's cool.
Why do you like electric power steering?
Another thing about JZs and S13s, which I'm sure a lot of guys know, is the power steering pumps don't work well. I don't understand why. They fail. They get hot.
I see that all the time on Mesker and other people's
Does it happen with the Mark II? Or anything? The JZX 100s?
No, mine is just rock solid.
I don't understand
My JZX 100 has no issues whatsoever. Sai and I were just talking about how we drove like 17 days. We don't even remember opening the hood.
Are you serious?
No, the entire event.
That's amazing.
I don't think we ever opened the hood.
You never checked the oil on it.
Yeah, we literally didn't check the oil.
That's amazing.
I mean, no, that's dumb. I shouldn't.
Well, it worked, right?
But it's amazing, yeah.
So in my Pro car, I used the MR2 power steering pump, and it worked amazing. It was great. I had all these problems. I figured it out, and they're so cheap to do and really easy. And I said, I'm just going to do it on this car.
Which one did you say?
MR2. Okay. The SW20 MR2. You put it in, you put 2 wires to it, plumb it to the rack, and that's it.
And where is the pump and everything?
This is the pump.
Okay.
The pump is right here. There's the chase base reservoir.
My sunglasses.
And then it's just I got some chase base lines running to the front, and it just works amazing. Like,
cool.
Power on, and the nice thing is you don't like. Sometimes you have to rev up the engine to get power steering to work a little bit. It's inconsistent throughout the rev range. Chelsea was saying even his pump was having problems. You'd have to be above 3,500 for it to work. But this, you have the consistent pressure all the way. If it's low pressure, it's low pressure. If it's high pressure,
I'm one of those drivers that doesn't even notice anything wrong or right with the car. If you know what I mean, I just drive. If something gets real hard,
you just drive through.
Yeah, somebody will be like, "Oh, this is all screwed up on your car," and I'm like, "What? Like, what the hell are you talking about?" They're like, "It's misfiring. It's on 5 cylinders." You're like, "Oh, okay, didn't know that." Cool. Okay. Yeah. Looks like a nice, simple car.
Yeah, it is. The other thing, I like to keep a body kit on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's important. I didn't at the event because I didn't really want to.
I say simple, and then it's still a 500 wheel JZ car.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, but
we're jaded. We're so jaded.
That stuff's getting easier to build now. I mean, it used to be all SRs, you know, SRs and all this stuff, and you know that. Everyone did an SR, but now JZs are becoming that because it's almost the same price, and there's so many swap kits. It's really easy to put in now.
Yeah. What would you do different after building this car next?
I actually have plans to build another car.
Really? Why don't you try something modern? Like, you know, I've been looking at, like, I've bought a 335i BMW, like a manual. I did a bunch of stuff to it. We tested it, like coilovers and...
Those are the twin turbos, right? The new one?
A tune and, like, cooling mods and the seat. And, like, we did a lot of stuff, and, like, we were having overheating issues. And I've driven a couple others. We've had a lot of overheating issues. We have some ideas on how to change it, but, like, that's the modern 2J.
How is it? Do you like it?
The engine's really good.
Really?
There's a few inherent problems with the car. It doesn't feel like a drift car where it has like, feels like a bigger car. The steering feels like a bigger car.
Yeah.
The drivetrain is super stout. They're crazy strong motors and transmissions and diffs and axles and stuff, so you're not gonna have any drivetrain problems. But like, they come off of RPM kind of slow, so you're like, run! So like you kind of have to clutch in to like get the car under control when you're getting off the gas and stuff sometimes.
That's frustrating.
But the parts are crazy cheap. Like an intercooler is $100.
No way.
A tune you just download on the Android store, and it's like $80 for a tune. It'll put you like that. You can have an E85 tune.
That's
like
wild.
I think an E70 tune maybe. You know, like you can have a lot of different stuff because I think you start to max out the injectors. But you can put down like probably 350 wheel or more.
Steering angle stuff.
I don't really need it that bad,
really?
but I just tested one with WiseFab, and it drifted really well, but it couldn't make it through the second lap without overheating.
Oh.
So I was gonna say there's a lot of interesting cars, and like you're a car dude. I picked mine up for $4 grand.
Wow.
So like after mods, like an $100 intercooler, a tune for $80 or whatever it was. You know, like all these really cheap parts.
Yeah.
The arms were super cheap. Everything's super cheap except the WiseFab, which is just normal WiseFab prices. So it's interesting.
I'm kind of stuck in this rut where I've got like 22 chassis, S13 chassis.
Yeah.
And all these parts everywhere, and I can build these for almost free, you know. But I've thought about, you know, I actually have an IS300. That's my next project I kind of want to do. Yeah. Even they're still old, but they're more modern a little bit.
My thing is like, you see that Mustang I have?
Yeah.
We put like, Cy and I, we beat the shit out of that thing. Literally do almost zero maintenance, zero prep between events, and like it keeps going because it's a modern car. It never goes into limp mode, never does anything bad. It just always runs. It's like my JZX. Because I went to Japan like 5 years ago and I drove a JZX, and just like, you know, for like a week straight you're driving, and I was like, drift cars can go for a week straight without braking? I was like, what? And I was like, we're doing this wrong in America, and it's because we're building everything from scratch. And like the cars are only as good as we are mechanics, if that makes sense.
That's true.
And even a basic car like you, it was still months to build with a lot of expertise that you had to like get together. And like,
and it costs a lot more than just buying a car.
Come over here for a second because the wind. The big thing I was gonna say is like, if you've been around drifting for a long time, if we have say 100 new drifters, and they all have to become good mechanics to become drifters and enjoy the sport, that means you're gonna lose 80% of them.
Right, absolutely.
And then you're gonna keep X amount around, like you're just gonna lose the vast majority of drifters to like the inherent problems of building cars and maintaining them and stuff. So if we can get them in, like you see 350Zs now, they just don't break. The people don't have to know how to work on them. You just have to know how to put wheels on them, literally, and gas.
I picked this one up for cheap.
Yeah.
And all I do is rent it out, and I drive it if my car breaks, you know?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how well 350Zs do out of the box.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as exciting as a JZ. It doesn't, not all of us love
But you can't break the thing.
Yeah, no,
you just drive it.
They're so indestructible. And I was going to say, like, that's what drifting needs to make it forward. Just kind of like we talk a lot about Assetto Corsa and, like, video games to be simulators to train. The 350Zs are the same thing. Like, you get 1,000,000 laps. Because, like, when you probably started JZ stuff, it was probably a disaster for a while.
Right.
And it took you years to get good at it.
Figure it out, yeah.
And now we talk about it's a simple car.
Right.
But if that's your first car, that is not a simple car.
I remember building the first one like 8 years ago, and it was a nightmare looking back at it. I had no idea what I was doing and just all the problems, you know.
That's still me now.
Fast forward 8 years, you get it all figured out, like you said. So to me, it seems simple, but it's not. It's not simple at all. Not. And you talk about, you know, like the simplicity of these cars, and I see the two sides of it. You know, I'm a car guy, I'm a car builder. That's half the fun for me, is building that car.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of jumping into a stock car doesn't appeal to me. But like you said, you're gonna lose 80% of those people by
You are jumping in a stock car, and when yours breaks, you're happy as hell to have that thing, aren't you? You're just like, I just want to drive.
Turn the heater on and just drive.
Yeah.
No problems.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have a bunch of footage of you driving this weekend and all over the place.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us out. We love it.
All right, Cy. Boom. Bye. Okay. Can we?
Boom! Thank you to every sponsor that worked with Lone Star Drift this year, including BC Racing Coilovers, NRG, Koyo Rad, GK Tech, Sicky, Manufacturing, Spec Clutch, Inky Wheels, Kenda Tires, Garrett Turbo, ECU Master, What Monsters Do, AEM, and everyone else that helped out, including all the drivers, judges, spectators, volunteers, everyone. Thank you! Bam!